What's going on, guys? We're back at it again with another episode of True Capacity Talks, and today we're going to be talking about meal prepping and why you're doing it wrong. Jokes, but I am going to give you the keys to the street so that you can do it in 90 minutes or less for the whole week. And, you're busy out here. I'm busy out here. I don't want to meal prep. You want to be able to do it fast and efficient. So let's dive in. What we're going to be going over is kind of just basically three things that I want you to keep in mind when we're doing some meal prepping. Because, the nutrition is the important part here, right? The meal prepping is just the conduit for us to get the nutrition. We got to make sure that we're paying attention to the actual food that we're putting in our body. It's extremely important. So we're going to break it down into three places. One is going to be planning and organization. The other is going to be balanced nutrition. And then number three is going to be how to save time doing it, because who doesn't want to save time? Ain't nobody trying to spend their whole life doing this crap. So not even me, and this is my full-time job. So let's dive in. First and foremost, on the planning and organization, you want to make sure that you streamline your prepping process. If you want the guide that goes along with this, you just need to comment hashtag 90minute, hashtag 90minute anywhere that you found this video, or send it to me in a DM, and I'll be happy to send you over the guide that goes along with this. But we want to make sure is that we're being efficient. We're streamlining how we're cooking, how we're prepping, how we're purchasing, how we're laying out, etc. And so what we want to start with is, it's going to start with before you even go to the grocery store to grab this food. So you're going to want to make sure that you take a grocery helper, one that you've either developed or that you've gotten from us or from somebody else, a grocery shopping list, right, that lays out foods based on protein, fat, carb, right, based on macronutrient breakdown and what it is the majority of. And then on top of that, also the quantities in which it's most commonly sold, so you know how many units to get so you can hit your macro goals for the week. Now, if you're not on macros yet and you're just on portions, that's cool too. You can do the same process here. It's just a little bit less precise, but that's fine if you're not doing macros. That's totally cool. So this will apply either way. What we want to make sure, though, that you do before you ever set foot in before you ever set foot in the grocery store is that you have a list. Do not go into the grocery store hungry without a list. You'll literally buy everything. I don't even like shopping, but I buy everything. So what I want you to do is I want you to figure out what you want to cook for the week, okay? Then you're going to break that down into the foods that they are. You're going to put that onto a list, and you're going to make sure that when you break it down into proteins, fats, carbs, and leafy and green veggies, yes, that is not a macronutrient, but we do want to make sure that we're getting those in as well. Leafy and green veggies is going to be a separate category here. That's a little bit of a deviation from how a lot of people do nutrition, but it's something that we're going to look at because it's a very easy way to also make sure that you're fully squared away. So breaking foods down into proteins, fats, carbs, and then also leafy and green veggies, right? That's going to be where I would start. And I would just reverse engineer what you're going to write down based on the meals that you want to have. So like maybe one week you're feeling steak. Maybe another week you're not feeling steak, you're feeling shrimp. Maybe one week you're feeling a vegan protein source, sick. Maybe one week you're feeling like, I want to just go ahead and get just whole food sources, not whole foods, but whole food sources of all my foods. Maybe you want to, underpin your meals with, I don't know, chickpeas, maybe some rice and beans or something like that. Maybe you don't want to go that wild or that basic or that historical, but hey, go on with your bad stuff. Regardless of what you're going to do, everything that you're going to buy should be on that list. And if it's not on that list, exercise some discipline and don't buy the damn stuff. Like there's no reason to, right? That's very easily when we get into the place where we start buying chips, we start buying queso, we start buying brownies, or we start buying gummy bears, me included, guilty as charged. I love gummy bears, but you got to be intentional, because if you buy a bunch of stuff that you're not planning on prepping, there's a high likelihood that it's either snacky food that's going to take you off the track of your goals, or it's something that is going to go to waste, right? A lot of fruits and veggies go to waste because people don't have a plan and they over purchase. So going to Costco is not always the best idea unless you're going to prep all of it, and it's not going to go to waste, right? So as far as batch cooking is concerned, essentially, we're going to want to make sure that on everything we're grilling, baking, or steaming to the best of our ability. You can also air fry if you want to. That's cool. I would just be careful about using a silly amount of oil when you're cooking anything. I'd be very intentional about that. We don't really want to fry anything that unless you really want to. And if you really want to, go on with your bad self. That's okay. It's none of my business, but I would be intentional about doing that. So the plan and organization, it should be a choreographed event from the time that you write down a list all the way into the grocery store, purchasing, right? And coming home and then starting to prep. My recommendation would be that when you get home, you've allocated a block from the time that you leave to shopping to getting home and starting to prep. You allocate that as one big block, because if you have breakup time where you eat a meal or you go do something else or you go work out or you hang out with your significant other, where you see your kids or you're doing stuff and you don't have that already planned out right there, it can then be very hard to even get the meal prep food, right? Or the food meal prepped, because if you don't do it right there, there's a high likelihood that a lot of stuff goes to waste. And so you want to be very intentional about what you're doing there and make sure that that's not the case. And if you're a client of ours, you'll know that you have literally guides for all of this. You have PDFs that you can take into the grocery store with you, right? And those are client-only exclusive things, but you have those right in front of you. And so if you're listening to this and you do have those, utilize them. If you're listening to this and you don't have those, reach out, right? Maybe it makes sense for us to help you out, for you to come in and coach. Maybe it doesn't. Either way, you can do this yourself. How we do it is break it down by macronutrient first, and then second page or under that, you're just going to put the quantities of the things that you want to get based on the meals that you're trying to get. So not only are you making sure that you have meals that you like, right? Meal prepping is not necessarily about just eating something that on day 3, day 4, day 5, it's okay enough to actually do it. Like it's okay enough to eat. The point of meal prepping is not to rip all joy out of the food that you're eating. In fact, the more of a chef that, like, to the extent that you want, right? The more of a chef that you want to be, the more of the chef you should be. The more time and effort you want to put into it, to showing up for yourself and making sure that you cook things like you would get in a restaurant without all the fanciness, right? The more you'll probably enjoy it, the more it'll be easy to stay compliant there. It's super interesting to me that we go to restaurants and we will heat up the microwave. We'll heat up the leftovers in the microwave after eating out somewhere. That's super nice, and it'll work swimmingly, and we'll be so happy for it. We'll be excited to eat that food. But then when we meal prep, we decide that we want to make chicken, broccoli, and rice and like hate our life. So that's definitely not the direction I would recommend going. So remember, choreographed from start to finish, from the meals, then the reverse engineering of the meals to a list of food that you're going to go buy, right? And then from there, going in, being very intentional, throw on a song, throw on a podcast, what have you. Just swim your way through the grocery store and make sure that your phone, you're not sitting around texting and doing a bunch of craziness, because just like the gym, it'll take a lot of extra time if you do that. And then you come home, start prepping. What I would recommend is that you cook things in the order of which they take the most time. The things that take the most time should be prepped and put in, right? As you're prepping other things, to then also put them in, right? That's going to be the easiest way to go. So on the plan and organization, like, this is one of those scenarios where you're going to want to sharpen the axe for a whole lot longer than you're actually going to want to swing it, because if you jack this up, the rest of it can be very, very difficult. But once you got the planning and the organization out of the way, you just want to make sure you want to check in. And this is probably something, this is some pre-work this is actually part of planning and organization. And then also part of intentional problem solving. You want to make sure that the nutrition is actually balanced, right? There's a very high likelihood that the more macronutrient incorporation, right, the more balanced your meals are, the better you're gonna be off, to continue to do this day over day, week over week, month over month, and stay on your goals. It's also, like I was saying, I said this earlier on my stories, it's very hard, very difficult to overeat chickpeas and regular chickpeas and regular black beans. It's very hard to overeat them. Now, is it impossible? Not at all. But it is difficult, right? It's much easier to overeat Cheetos. It's much easier to overeat mayonnaise. It's much easier to overeat anything high fat and high sugar. Having some veggies, having some carbs that come from vegetable sources, having legumes, beautiful. It can definitely spice up some things, get you some more, some more micronutrients, and not just be eating steak and eggs, although I love that meal too. Regardless, so on the nutrition side, it's kind of like, it's the Build-A-Bear workshop out here. Choose your own adventure. Do what you want to do that fits your goals. But please, please, please do not think that eating cake and ice cream all day, every day is going to get you the body that you're looking for, right? The individuals that you see doing that are shreddy McShreds also have probably lifted weights for years and years and years, and or they're on exogenous hormones, and or their genetics are freak, right? Take someone that never skips dessert like Alex Hormozi, right? Already genetic freak, lifted for 14 plus years. More recently got on TRT, is Shreddy McShreds, while he's also jacked out of his mind. But if most people ate their normal food and then ate that much dessert on top, they wouldn't be there. Now, he obviously doesn't do that necessarily. He's hitting a protein goal and then backfilling the calories with whatever he wants. But an important note here that if you're more balanced in your nutrition, and it's stuff that you would eat if you were out, but it's made at home, so it tastes good, it's stuff that you're actually interested in eating. If it's interesting to eat and it's balanced nutrition, you're going to be in a much more solid spot. Nutrient density is going to be what we're going to want to be intentional about. Nutrient scarcity is just going to, put you in a place where you overeat. Satiety is important, right? Feeling full, and making sure that you check in with your thirst every time that you get some hunger signals, quote unquote, before you start eating a bunch of stuff. So outside of the balanced nutrition, I think that pretty much covers it. Want to be mindful about eating. Slow the hell down when you're eating, right? Put the fork down, right, in between bites. Let go of that thing. Or if you're me and you're at Chipotle, I use a spoon, I don't use a fork. Do that, have some fruit, have some vegetables, have some lean proteins, whole grains if you're down with it. If you're not, look, choose your own adventure. Eat as balanced as you want to eat. Just know that you do not have to eat chicken, broccoli, and rice out of Tupperware. You also do not have to make, Little Alley Steakhouse entrees and appetizers to put them in meal prep. You don't have to do that, right? And so outside of the planning and the organization, and then being balanced in the nutrition, which comes back to the list that you're going to have in the beginning. The third thing there is just about saving time, right? You want to maximize the efficiency in the kitchen, right? So if you want to join our Facebook group, we have tons of recipes. We drop another 30 to 50 every single month. And those are in our Facebook group exclusively, or you can buy them on the website. It's somewhere around I think it's $40 to $70 a pack on the website, or you can just be in our Facebook group, either one. You're totally up to you. If you don't want to be in our Facebook group, that's cool. You can just go buy it online. Not a big deal. But you're going to want to make sure that you have recipes that don't take 1,400 ingredients and don't take 3 hours to make a piece. You're also going to want to make sure that you use specific utensils and cross-use them. So long as you don't contaminate stuff, you don't have allergies, or you're not mixing eggs and all kinds of other stuff. You don't want to increase your risk of salmonella. You also don't want to increase your risk of other foodborne stuff. So I wouldn't really be sharing raw chicken utensils with everything else. I really wouldn't do that. I do it with beef all the time. Choose your own adventure. This is not medical advice. I would definitely recommend that you use multiple sets of utensils to the best of your ability, but I get lazy and I just run it there. And then, also, you can multitask, right? So while stuff is cooking, you can clean up, right? You can prep something else. You can chop something else. You can dice something else. You can throw something in the air fryer while something's in the oven. You can absolutely do that. You can pull out Tupperware while you're doing other stuff. And also, you can just a la carte it. You can a la carte that butte too if you want. Just put everything in big tubs and then portion it out. Now, that's a little bit more difficult unless you know portion sizes for you to eat more balanced, but you can do it if you want. That'll definitely work. And outside of that, the only other thing that I would say here before we wrap is just that, if you have more pre-portioned, right, pre-prepared, ready to go protein sources, and also other food that's ready to rock and roll, right, I would say more like protein sweets. And that's what I like to have. That's kind of what keeps me on track. The more that you have those things pre-prepared and ready to rock, the less likely it is that you're just going to go on the shelf and go grab gummy bears. We're going to go grab Oreos. We're going to go grab yada yada, right? Like the less likely you are to do that is going to come down to how much you've pre-planned. Doesn't mean that you need to eat chicken, broccoli, and rice every meal. I'm telling you, you do not need to do that. And I would say that you'd probably lose most of your joy if you did do that. So maybe not. But yeah, that's kind of where I'll wrap. A little bit longer than I wanted to go on this, but 15 minutes, we'll take it. We're looking at planning and organization, balanced nutrition, right? And then also looking at just saving some time. So, get yourself to a position where you feel good about those things. And if you need some more help, holler at us. If this provided you any value, share with a friend. If it didn't provide you any value, shoot me a DM and let me know what topics would provide you some value, because the only reason that these are done are to help people that are out there, whether they're our clients or not. So if they're not providing value, I would definitely like to know so that we can shift topics and make them more actionable. So hope you're all living well and everyone's having a great night. And y'all keep rocking and rolling. If you need me, you know where to find me, at James M. Gillespie, James M. Gillespie, P like Paul, IE, everywhere on social. Or you could hit up our True Capacity page. You could hit up one of our other coaches. And let's rock and roll. Outside of that, hope you're all having a great rest of your day. And yeah, that's going to be it on meal prepping for success for today. Y'all have a good one. Peace.